Canady, cherry pie, and a damn fine cup of coffee.
A small town, a dead girl wrapped in plastic, and secrets buried so deep they changed television forever. But behind the red curtains and cherry pie, darkness consumed the production. Actors clashed. The network demanded answers, and one scene, it traumatized the crew so badly filming stopped for hours. These are 20 secrets about Twin Peaks hidden for decades. And the bonus, David Lynch fired someone on set and never explained why. That's a damn fine cup of secrets. Number 20. ABC had no idea what they were greenlighting. When David Lynch and Mark Frost pitched Twin Peaks to ABC in 1989, network executives were desperate for something different to compete against CBS and NBC's dominance. They'd seen Lynch's films, knew his work was strange and uncommercial, but assumed television would force him to compromise and create something accessible. They were catastrophically wrong. The pilot script Lynch submitted was deliberately vague, focusing on atmospheric descriptions rather than plot details. Executives skimmed it, saw murder mystery in small town, and assumed it would be a quirky procedural with weird touches. They approved it without fully understanding what Lynch intended. When the pilot was delivered, network executives watched in stunned horror. This wasn't a procedural. It was a fever dream, a backwards talking dwarf, a dancing giant, dream sequences that made no narrative sense, characters speaking in riddles, and deliberate pacing that defied every television convention. ABC wanted to bury it immediately, calling emergency meetings about how to handle this unmarketable disaster they'd accidentally funded. But test screenings showed something unexpected. Audiences were mesmerized. People didn't understand Twin Peaks, but they couldn't stop watching. The pilot's strangeness became its selling point, generating buzz that conventional shows couldn't match. ABC reluctantly aired it, expecting failure. Instead, Twin Peaks became a cultural phenomenon, proving that sometimes networks don't know what they want until they accidentally get it. Number 19. Kyle MacLachlan was cast because he owed Lynch a favor.
Wait a minute.
30 a.m., February 24th. Entering the town of Twin Peaks. It's 5 miles south of the Canadian.
Kyle MacLachlan wasn't ABC's choice for Agent Dale Cooper. The network wanted a recognizable television actor, someone who could anchor a weird show with a familiar presence. They pushed for established names, actors with sitcom or procedural backgrounds who audiences already trusted. David Lynch refused every suggestion, insisting he needed someone specific, but unable to articulate exactly what that meant. Then he called Kyle MacLachlan, who'd starred in Lynch's films Dune and Blue Velvet. MacLachlan was doing theater in New York, having sworn off film and television after Dune's catastrophic failure nearly destroyed his career. He'd told his agent no more risky projects, only safe choices that would rebuild his reputation. When Lynch called asking him to star in a television series about a dead girl in a logging town, MacLachlan's first response was an immediate no, but Lynch persisted, not with traditional pitching, but with something more personal. He reminded MacLachlan that Blue Velvet had revived his career after Dune, that Lynch had believed in him when no one else would. He said he needed someone who understood his vision instinctively, who could ground strangeness in humanity. It wasn't a pitch, it was a call to loyalty. MacLachlan agreed reluctantly, seeing it as repaying a debt rather than pursuing opportunity. He showed up to the first table read, uncertain and uncomfortable, but the moment he delivered Cooper's first speech about coffee and pie, everyone knew Lynch had been right. MacLachlan wasn't just playing Cooper, he was Cooper, bringing earnestness and warmth that made Lynch's weirdness accessible and human. Number 18. The Laura Palmer actress was traumatized by the role. Cheryl Lee was hired to play Laura Palmer's corpse in the pilot, a one-day job requiring her to lie wrapped in plastic on a beach while cameras filmed. It seemed like easy money, a quick gig for a struggling actress. But that single day of filming changed her life in ways she couldn't have anticipated. Lee had to lie motionless for hours while crew members adjusted lighting, cameras, and the plastic wrapping. The beach was freezing, the plastic restricted her breathing, and the experience of playing a dead teenage girl started affecting her psychologically. Between takes, she'd have panic attacks, feeling claustrophobic and terrified despite knowing it was just acting. When the scene aired and Twin Peaks became a phenomenon, Lee's face, as Laura's corpse, became iconic, one of television's most haunting images. Then Lynch made a decision that changed everything. He was so impressed with Lee's ability to convey tragedy even while playing a corpse that he created a new role for her, Laura's cousin Maddie Ferguson. Lee returned to Twin Peaks playing a living character, but the show's mythology meant she also appeared in flashbacks as Laura, experiencing the character's final traumatic days. Playing Laura's abuse, terror, and murder required Lee to access dark emotional places that left lasting psychological scars. She later spoke about developing PTSD from the role, nightmares where she couldn't distinguish between herself and Laura, struggling with depression that lasted years. What started as a one-day corpse gig became a career-defining role that damaged her mental health in ways she's still processing decades later. Number 17. David Lynch and Mark Frost fought constantly. Twin Peaks was created by David Lynch and Mark Frost as equal partners, their names appearing together in every credit. The public perception was of harmonious collaboration, two creative minds working in perfect sync. The reality was constant warfare. Lynch and Frost had fundamentally different visions for what Twin Peaks should be. Frost wanted a coherent mystery with clues, red herrings, and eventual resolution. A smart detective story wrapped in Lynch's atmospheric style. Lynch didn't care about solving Laura's murder. To him, the mystery was just an excuse to explore darkness, dreams, and the supernatural. He wanted to never solve it, keeping Twin Peaks in perpetual limbo. Their battles were legendary among cast and crew. They'd argue for hours about single scenes, about whether something should make sense or remain beautifully incomprehensible. Frost would write scripts with clear narrative progression, and Lynch would rewrite them, adding inexplicable dream sequences. Lynch would film scenes exactly as he wanted, and Frost would re-edit them into something more conventional. The partnership became a tug of war, each man pulling the show in opposite directions. When ABC demanded they reveal Laura's color in Season 2, the conflict exploded. Frost agreed immediately, believing the show needed to deliver on its central mystery. Lynch fought desperately to avoid it, arguing that answering the question would destroy Twin Peaks' soul. Frost won that battle, but Lynch effectively abandoned the show afterward, directing fewer episodes and letting it drift into weirdness without his guidance. Their partnership never recovered, and Twin Peaks suffered from the absence of their balanced tension. Number 16. The network forced them to solve Laura's murder. Twin Peaks' first season and early second season were television events, must-see viewing that dominated cultural conversation. The central question, who called Laura Palmer, became a national obsession. ABC watched ratings soar and assumed the mystery's resolution would create the biggest television moment in history. They were wrong. Network executives pressured Lynch and Frost relentlessly to reveal the killer, believing audiences wouldn't stay engaged without resolution. Lynch resisted, insisting the show was never really about solving the murder, but about exploring the town and its strange inhabitants. ABC didn't care about artistic vision. They cared about ratings and advertiser satisfaction. They issued an ultimatum: reveal Laura's color by mid-season 2 or face cancellation. Frost, more pragmatic than Lynch, convinced his partner they had no choice. They revealed that Laura's father, Leland Palmer, possessed by the demon Bob, was the killer. The episode aired to massive ratings, the biggest audience Twin Peaks ever achieved. Then something catastrophic happened. Ratings collapsed immediately afterward. With the central mystery solved, casual viewers stopped watching, no longer invested in the show's mythology. The remaining episodes of Season 2 became increasingly strange and unfocused. Lynch checked out and Frost struggling to maintain coherence alone. ABC's certainty that solving the murder would boost ratings instead killed the show, proving Lynch had been right all along. The mystery wasn't the point. The mystery was the show. Without it, Twin Peaks lost its identity and never recovered. Number 15. Ray Wise didn't know his character was the color.
I'll catch you with my death bag! You may think I've gone insane!
Ray Wise played Leland Palmer, Laura's grieving father, with heartbreaking sincerity throughout Season 1. His performance was devastating, a father destroyed by his daughter's murder, and Wise played it completely straight with no hints of hidden darkness. That's because he genuinely didn't know Leland was the killer. Lynch and Frost kept the truth from the entire cast, believing genuine ignorance would create more authentic performances. Actors playing suspects truly didn't know if their characters were guilty, bringing real uncertainty to their work. When Lynch finally told Wise that Leland called Laura while possessed by Bob, Wise was shocked and disturbed. He'd played Leland as purely good, a victim of circumstances, and now had to reconcile that performance with the revelation that his character was a monster. The worst part was learning the implications. Leland hadn't just called Laura. The show implied years of abuse, that Bob's possession had allowed Leland to commit incest and torture against his own daughter. Wise had to process that he'd been playing a child abuser without knowing it, that his sympathetic portrayal might make audiences sympathize with a monster. The revelation changed everything about his performance. In episodes after the reveal, Wise brought a horrifying duality to Leland, showing a man consumed by evil while desperately clinging to fragments of humanity. But Wise later said learning the truth felt like betrayal, that Lynch had manipulated him into giving a performance he might not have been comfortable with had he known the full story. Number 14. The Black Lodge scenes were filmed in complete silence. Twin Peaks' most iconic sequences take place in the Black Lodge, also called the Red Room, where Agent Cooper encounters the man from another place and Laura Palmer's doppelganger. The backwards talking, surreal choreography became the show's signature visual. Filming those scenes was a technical nightmare that required unprecedented methods. Lynch wanted the backwards speech to feel genuinely alien and unsettling, not like obvious reversed audio. So he developed a complex process. Actors learned their dialogue backwards phonetically, practiced speaking it in reverse, then performed scenes speaking backwards while moving in reverse. This footage was then reversed in post-production, creating forward movement with bizarrely inflected speech that sounded almost right, but deeply wrong. The actors found this process incredibly difficult and disorienting. Michael J. Anderson, who played the man from another place, spent weeks learning to speak backwards, practicing with tape recorders to ensure his reversed speech would sound rhythmic and musical when reversed again. The set was kept completely silent during filming. No music or sound effects, just actors speaking phonetically backwards dialogue they'd memorized. Lynch would direct in whispers between takes, maintaining eerie quiet that made the experience feel genuinely otherworldly. Cast members later said filming Black Lodge scenes felt like participating in occult rituals, something psychologically affecting that transcended normal acting. The silence, the backwards movement, the red curtains and zigzag floor, it all created an atmosphere that was genuinely disturbing, making the final surreal product feel authentic rather than artificial. Number 13. Kyle MacLachlan refused to return for Firewalk with Me.
Director Cole, sir,
I want everything you've got or could find on a mystery.
After Twin Peaks was canceled in 1991, David Lynch decided to make a prequel film, Firewalk with Me, focusing on Laura Palmer's final days. The film required Kyle MacLachlan to reprise Agent Cooper, but when Lynch approached him, MacLachlan refused. The rejection shocked Lynch, who'd assumed MacLachlan would be excited to revisit the character. But MacLachlan had grown to resent Cooper and Twin Peaks. The show's cancellation had been devastating professionally, associating him with a bizarre failure rather than a cultural phenomenon. He'd struggled to book other roles, with casting directors seeing him only as the weird FBI agent from that canceled show. MacLachlan wanted to move on, establish himself in film, and avoid being trapped in Lynch's orbit forever. He told Lynch no, that Cooper's story was finished and returning would be career suicide. Lynch was furious, feeling betrayed by the actor he'd championed. They negotiated bitterly, with Lynch eventually convincing MacLachlan to appear briefly in the film's bookend sequences, but not in the main narrative. MacLachlan agreed reluctantly, filming his scenes in a single day and maintaining cold professionalism throughout. Fire Walk with Me suffered from Cooper's absence, feeling incomplete without the character who'd been the show's moral center. The film was critically savaged and bombed at the box office, confirming McLaughlin's instincts that returning was a mistake. The refusal damaged his relationship with Lynch for years, healing only when the revival series brought them back together decades later. Number 12. Cheryl Lee's screaming scene required medical intervention. Fire Walk with Me depicted Laura Palmer's final days in graphic, traumatic detail that the television show could never show. The film's most devastating scene shows Laura's final moments, screaming in terror as she realizes her fate. Filming that scene nearly destroyed Cheryl Lee. Lynch wanted authentic agony, real terror, and he pushed Lee to emotional extremes that crossed professional boundaries into something darker. "Take after take," Lee screamed until her voice gave out, sobbed until she hyperventilated, experiencing genuine psychological breakdown that Lynch encouraged rather than stopped. The scene required 12 hours of filming, with Lee spending the entire day in a state of emotional crisis. Between takes, she couldn't stop crying, her body continuing to sob even when her mind tried to recover. Crew members grew increasingly uncomfortable watching Lee's suffering, but Lynch insisted they continue, believing the authentic pain was essential. Finally, a crew member called the production's medical supervisor, concerned that Lee was experiencing genuine medical distress. The supervisor examined Lee and found her blood pressure dangerously elevated, her breathing irregular, symptoms of acute stress that could have health consequences. Filming was stopped, and Lee was given time to recover, but the damage was done. Lee later described that day as traumatic, saying Lynch had pushed her beyond acting into actual psychological torture. The scene is powerful and devastating on screen, but the cost was real human suffering that Lee carried for years. Another example of Lynch's genius creating art through cruelty. Number 11. David Bowie's scene was filmed in complete secrecy.
Cole on the line for you, sir.
Gordon Cole? Director Cole, sir,
I want everything you've
I have
got.
a feeling a man named Gordon Cole will call here. If he does, read him this message.
David Bowie appears in Fire Walk with Me as FBI agent Philip Jeffries in one of cinema's strangest cameos. His scene lasts only minutes, but became one of the film's most discussed moments, Bowie appearing disheveled and ranting about meetings with the man from another place before vanishing mysteriously. The scene was filmed in complete secrecy with extraordinary security measures. Lynch knew Bowie's appearance would generate massive press if leaked, potentially overshadowing the film's release. So the scene was scheduled as a closed set with minimal crew, everyone required to sign NDAs with severe financial penalties for violations. Bowie arrived separately from other cast members, was kept in a private area, and filmed his entire sequence in a single marathon session lasting over 14 hours. Most cast members never saw him on set, learning about his participation only when the film premiered. The secrecy extended to the script itself. Bowie's dialogue was written on separate pages not included in the general shooting script, handed to him directly by Lynch on set. Even Kyle MacLachlan, who appears in the scene, didn't know Bowie was involved until they were filming together. The extreme measures worked perfectly. Bowie's appearance remained secret until the film's premiere, creating genuine shock and delight among audiences. But the obsessive secrecy also revealed Lynch's controlling nature, his need to manipulate every aspect of production and surprise, treating filmmaking like a magic trick where revealing methods would destroy the illusion. For Bowie, it was just another strange day in an endlessly strange career. Number 10. The show's cancellation was ABC's biggest regret. When ABC canceled Twin Peaks in June 1991 after 2 seasons, network executives felt relieved. The show had become a nightmare, ratings collapsing after Laura's Keller was revealed, Lynch barely involved, and production costs remaining high while audience interest vanished. Cancellation seemed like mercy culling, ending a show that had lost its way. Then something unexpected happened over the following years. Twin Peaks became a cult phenomenon, growing more popular in cancellation than it had been on air. VHS sales were massive, with people buying complete series sets and hosting Twin Peaks viewing parties. The show became required viewing for film students, analyzed in academic papers, and discussed as one of television's most important works. By the mid-90s, ABC executives realized they'd made a catastrophic mistake. They'd canceled what would become one of the most influential television shows in history, something that would have given them prestige and cultural relevance for decades. Other networks began developing Twin Peaks-influenced shows, copying its atmosphere and narrative complexity. ABC watched competitors profit from the template they'd abandoned. Network executives who'd pushed for cancellation were haunted by the decision, watching Twin Peaks' reputation grow while ABC was left with nothing. By 2017, when Showtime produced the revival series to massive critical acclaim, ABC's regret was complete. They'd owned a masterpiece and thrown it away because they didn't understand what they had, one of television's greatest what-if stories about a network that called its own legacy. Number 9. Lara Flynn Boyle's jealousy nearly destroyed production.
Terry Franklin.
Here.
Martha Grimes.
Lara Flynn Boyle played Donna Hayward, Laura Palmer's best friend, and one of the show's central characters. During season 1, Boyle began dating Kyle MacLachlan, and their relationship quickly became toxic and controlling. Boyle grew intensely jealous of any actress who had scenes with MacLachlan, particularly Cheryl Lee and Mädchen Amick. She'd monitor the set obsessively, watching rehearsals and demanding script changes if she felt other actresses had too much interaction with Cooper. The situation reached a breaking point when Boyle discovered that MacLachlan and Amick had developed a close friendship. She confronted producers, demanding that Amick's character Shelley have fewer scenes. When they refused, Boyle threatened to quit, creating chaos during active production. Lynch was forced to mediate between his stars, a role he despised and handled poorly. The tension affected everyone, with Boyle refusing to speak to certain cast members and creating an atmosphere of hostility that made filming miserable. When Fire Walk with Me was being cast, Boyle's behavior had become so problematic that Lynch replaced her entirely, hiring Moira Kelly to play Donna in the film. Boyle was devastated, but had burned too many bridges. Years later, when the revival series was planned, Boyle wasn't invited back, her role recast again, a permanent consequence of jealousy that destroyed relationships and ended her association with Twin Peaks forever. Number 8. Michael Ontkean walked away and never looked back.
Sure. Oh, by the way, you were shot with a wall.
Michael Ontkean played Sheriff Harry S. Truman, Agent Cooper's loyal partner and the show's grounding presence. Ontkean brought warmth and authenticity to the role, serving as the audience's entry point into Twin Peaks' strangeness. But when the show ended, Ontkean walked away from acting entirely and never returned. Unlike other cast members who struggled with typecasting, Ontkean made a conscious choice to retire at the height of his career. He'd grown disillusioned with Hollywood during Twin Peaks production, watching the show deteriorate from brilliant to chaotic as network interference increased and creative vision fragmented. The cancellation confirmed his belief that television was a broken medium where art died under commercial pressure. Ontkean moved to Hawaii, bought property, and built a life completely separate from entertainment. When the revival series was being planned in 2015, Lynch approached Ontkean about returning as Sheriff Truman. Ontkean refused immediately, not interested in revisiting that world or returning to acting at all. Lynch tried persuading him, offering more money and creative input, but Ontkean remained firm. He'd left that life behind and had no intention of going back. The role was rewritten for Robert Forster playing Harry's brother Frank Truman, allowing the character's legacy to continue without Ontkean. His permanent departure from acting remains unusual, a successful actor who simply stopped and never regretted it. Number 7. The show's budget was spent on coffee and pie.
Wait a minute.
Please, Dinah. We've just done it up.
Twin Peaks had a relatively modest budget for network television, forcing creative cost-cutting throughout production. One of the strangest budget expenditures was food, specifically the enormous quantities of coffee and pie consumed on camera. Agent Cooper's obsession with damn fine coffee and cherry pie became character-defining traits, requiring scenes where McLaughlin actually ate and drank take after take. The production quickly discovered that continuity required buying massive amounts of food that would be wasted. A single scene of Cooper enjoying pie at the RR Diner might require a dozen pies for multiple takes and camera angles. Coffee consumption was equally extreme, with McLaughlin drinking gallons daily across weeks of filming. The show's accountants were baffled, seeing line items for hundreds of dollars in coffee and baked goods weekly. Some crew members joked that the food budget rivaled costume expenses. But the investment created authenticity, McLaughlin's genuine enjoyment of good coffee and pie translating into performances that felt real rather than acted. The Double R Diner became an iconic location partially because the food was actually good, not prop department fakery. Cast members would actually eat there between takes, and the pies were genuinely delicious. This commitment to real food over props exemplified Lynch's obsession with authentic detail, believing that viewers could subconsciously tell the difference between an actor pretending to enjoy pie and actually enjoying it. Number 6. Joan Chen was miserable throughout the entire production. Joan Chen played Josie Packard, the mysterious widow with secrets buried deep. On screen, Chen was elegant and enigmatic, perfectly embodying Lynch's vision. Off-screen, she was desperately unhappy and struggling with every aspect of production. Chen spoke limited English when cast, having learned the language relatively recently. She memorized dialogue phonetically without fully understanding what she was saying, making performance choices based on tone rather than meaning. This created constant miscommunication with directors who'd give notes she couldn't fully comprehend. The show's deliberately cryptic scripts made everything worse, Chen trying to play mysterious when she was genuinely confused about her character's motivations and storylines. Cultural differences compounded her struggles. Chen came from a film background where productions were meticulously planned and organized. Twin Peaks' chaotic improvisational approach felt unprofessional and disrespectful to her. Lynch's refusal to explain character motivations or narrative purposes left her feeling lost and unsupported. The infamous scene where Josie's soul becomes trapped in a wooden knob was the final straw. Chen had no idea what it meant, why it happened, or what Lynch wanted from her performance. She filmed it in confused misery, watching her character receive a bizarre, incomprehensible ending that she couldn't defend or explain. After Twin Peaks, Chen returned to more conventional productions, relieved to escape Lynch's world and work in environments that valued clear communication over atmospheric mystery. Number 5. The show's most famous scene was completely improvised.
Of futures past, a magician longs to see. One chance out between
that light would be my daughter Laura, and she would be reaching her hands out to me.
The scene where Leland Palmer learns about Laura's death and collapses in grief became one of television's most powerful moments. Ray Wise's performance transcending acting into something rawly human. What viewers don't know is that the scene was completely improvised and nearly didn't happen. The script called for Leland to receive the news calmly, then excuse himself to grieve privately off camera, a restrained approach that Lynch initially approved. During rehearsal, Wise felt this was wrong, that a father learning his daughter was murdered wouldn't maintain composure. He approached Lynch between takes, asking permission to try something different, something more visceral. Lynch agreed immediately, loving spontaneity and trusting his actor's instincts. When cameras rolled, Wise unleashed a performance of devastating grief that shocked everyone on set. He collapsed, screamed, sobbed uncontrollably, his body convulsing with anguish that felt genuinely real. The crew stood frozen, some crying themselves, uncertain whether to stop filming or let it continue. Lynch kept cameras rolling, recognizing that Wise had tapped into something profound. The take lasted over 5 minutes, Wise's grief building until he literally couldn't continue, collapsing exhausted and emotionally drained. Lynch used the entire take, making Twin Peaks one of few shows to feature such extended, uninterrupted emotional breakdown. The scene's power comes from its authenticity, a planned moment transformed by an actor's instinct into something unforgettable. Number 4. David Lynch fired his cinematographer mid-episode.
lovey-dovey too, wouldn't you? Oh, mercy, dotes and dozy, dotes and dozy.
Twin Peaks' distinctive visual style, the slow zooms, the darkness punctuated by warm light, the surreal compositions, was largely created by cinematographer Frank Byers. His work during Season 1 established the show's iconic look, earning critical praise and industry recognition. Then midway through Season 2, Lynch fired him without warning or explanation. Byers showed up to set one morning and was told his services were no longer needed, his equipment already being packed by a replacement crew. He was stunned, demanding to know what he'd done wrong. Lynch refused to explain, simply stating they were going in a different direction. Byers was escorted off the lot, his involvement with Twin Peaks ending abruptly and mysteriously. The firing shocked the crew, who'd worked closely with Byers and seen no indication of problems. Rumors circulated about creative disagreements or personality conflicts, but no one knew the truth. Lynch maintained complete silence, never publicly discussing why he'd fired the man who'd helped create Twin Peaks' visual identity. Byers later speculated that Lynch wanted total control and resented any collaborator receiving recognition for the show's style. The new cinematographer was competent, but couldn't replicate Byers' specific magic, and subtle visual quality declined in later episodes. The firing exemplified Lynch's autocratic approach to filmmaking, his willingness to destroy relationships and discard collaborators without explanation when they no longer served his vision. Number 3. The Log Lady was based on a real person.
Who's the lady with the log?
I would call it a log lady.
You wear shiny objects on your chest.
Catherine Coulson's portrayal of the Log Lady, a woman who carries a log and claims it communicates messages, became one of Twin Peaks' most beloved characters. The character wasn't invented for the show, but was based on someone Lynch actually knew. Years before Twin Peaks, Lynch was filming Eraserhead when he encountered a woman in Philadelphia who carried around a large stick she claimed was sentient. She'd talk to the stick, quote it in conversations, and treat it as a living companion. Lynch was fascinated, spending time with her and learning about her belief system. She wasn't mentally ill or performing, just someone who genuinely experienced the world differently, finding companionship and wisdom in an object others saw as inanimate. Lynch never forgot her, and when creating Twin Peaks, he channeled that memory into the Log Lady character. He approached Catherine Coulson, who'd worked on Eraserhead, with the role specifically designed for her. Coulson initially resisted, thinking the character was too weird and one-dimensional, but Lynch explained the real woman who'd inspired it, and Coulson understood that the Log Lady wasn't a joke, but a tribute to someone who'd touched Lynch's life. She accepted and created one of television's most surprisingly poignant characters, bringing dignity and mystery to someone who could have been merely comic relief. When Coulson was dying of cancer, she filmed final Log Lady scenes for the Revival series, delivering her character's goodbye while battling terminal illness, a heartbreaking farewell to both character and actress. Number 2. Angelo Badalamenti's score was composed in a single week. Twin Peaks' haunting score, particularly Laura Palmer's theme, became as iconic as any visual element, defining the show's emotional landscape. That entire score was composed in less than a week under impossible circumstances. Lynch approached composer Angelo Badalamenti only weeks before the pilot needed to be delivered, having spent so long on filming and editing that music was an afterthought. Badalamenti had minimal information about the show, just a rough cut of the pilot and Lynch's cryptic instructions about mood and feeling. He had 5 days to compose, record, and deliver a complete score. Badalamenti worked around the clock, sleeping maybe 2 hours nightly, composing directly at the piano with recording equipment capturing everything in real time. There was no time for orchestration or elaborate arrangements. Just Badalamenti alone with a synthesizer and piano creating layers of sound that would define the show. Laura Palmer's theme was written in a single afternoon, Badalamenti playing while Lynch sat beside him describing the character, her beauty and tragedy. The melody emerged organically, Badalamenti's fingers finding notes that matched Lynch's words. When he finished, Lynch was crying, recognizing that Badalamenti had captured Laura's essence perfectly. That theme, composed in hours under desperate time pressure, became one of television's most recognizable pieces of music. The entire score was equally rushed, yet it sounds timeless and carefully crafted, proof that sometimes art emerges from chaos rather than careful planning. Number 1. The revival almost didn't happen because Lynch walked away.
FBI. I'm Special Agent Dale Cooper.
In 2015, after years of rumors, Showtime officially announced a Twin Peaks revival with all original creators returning. David Lynch would direct every episode, Mark Frost would write, and production would begin within months. Fans celebrated, believing their decades-long wait was finally ending. Then 2 months later, Lynch announced via Twitter that he was leaving the project due to insufficient budget. The revival seemed dead, called by the same creative stubbornness that had defined the original. What followed was months of desperate negotiation, Showtime trying to meet Lynch's demands while maintaining financial viability. Lynch wanted complete creative control and budget unprecedented for television, arguing that Twin Peaks required cinematic quality that couldn't be achieved cheaply. Showtime initially refused, believing Lynch was bluffing and would eventually compromise. But Lynch wasn't bluffing. He was genuinely willing to let Twin Peaks die, rather than create something that didn't meet his standards. The standoff lasted months, with fans pleading on social media for both sides to compromise. Finally, Showtime caved, giving Lynch essentially everything he wanted. 18 episodes instead of 9, doubled budget, total creative control, and final cut privileges. The revival proceeded and became a masterpiece, but it nearly died because Lynch would rather have nothing than something imperfect. His uncompromising vision created both Twin Peaks' brilliance and its near destruction, a creative philosophy that builds masterpieces while burning everything around it. Twin Peaks changed television forever, proving audiences would embrace strangeness if creators committed fully to their vision. Behind the red curtains lived chaos, pain, and artistic warfare that somehow produced beauty. David Lynch built a masterpiece from broken pieces, leaving scars on everyone who helped create it, a legacy as complicated as the show itself.